And now, welcome back to the Cisco TV studio. And here we are. And now the topic is security, right? So I think security is really top of mind of each and every customer of ours, considering a lot of the latest breaches, attacks that are happening. You open up a newspaper every day and you see a company getting breached, right? So today we've got Bobby Guha-Sakar, who is our Senior Director for Security here at Cisco. Hi, Bobby. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me. Pleasure.
Thanks. So could you tell me more about how Cisco could help our customers in finding the threats and responding to them, right? So
Sure.
Obviously we do a lot of things in prevention, but as we see in the market, it's not like prevention doesn't work, right?
Yeah.
Nothing is 100%. You still very much need it.
Yeah.
But what happens next, right? And I think that's detection and response. What do we do there? What are the exciting things there?
Sure. I think if you take a step back, first of all, if you look at threats in general, 99% of the threats that people need to block are actually known already, right? So very few of the threats are actually unknown, right? But people don't even get around to blocking the known stuff, right? And then even when it is blocked, there's an alert that comes up, and then most of the alerts aren't even investigated, right? So there's a set of problems that kind of compound each other. And if you're a security analyst, if you work at the SOC, the problem is really that there's too much information. There's too much data coming at you from too many systems. What do you prioritize? What do you work on, right? So Cisco, as you may or may not know, over the last 5 years, we've invested over $7 billion in security startups and security companies. So we've built this large portfolio going across different parts of the network, the endpoint, different types of cloud gateways, and so on. Now the challenge is that how do we take all the alerts that come from these systems and actually make sense out of it? So when we give it to a human being to work on, it's actually the most important alert. It's something that should go to a human being, right? And so,
right, yeah.
And it's a brand new product we've been working on. It's called Cisco Threat Response. And what Cisco Threat Response is, it's an application. It's an application to help human beings do investigations and remediation. So we take alerts that come in from endpoints, we take alerts that could potentially come in from firewalls, and then we put it together, and then we bubble up and show you what's important. And then we also have remediation that's built in, because all of our products have APIs.
Right, yes.
So this product leverages those APIs in order to, for example, block a domain in Umbrella, or for example, to block a piece of malware in the endpoint product, right?
Right. So it does sound like kind of intelligent SIEM. Would you comment on that?
Sure. So a SIEM is a application that takes all logs, all alerts from the entire infrastructure, right? So we're not doing that, because a SIEM is really about data management. So taking, terabytes and terabytes of information, and then
potentially with a lot of noise.
A lot of noise, and then getting something out of that. Here what we're trying to do is to go one step beyond that. We're trying to say, okay, so in the Cisco infrastructure, what are the alerts that are coming in, and then try to correlate the important ones, and then just give you the ones that you need to work on. So what this will do for a SIEM is we can actually give that to a SIEM as well.
Right.
So that we actually provide, we provide the SIEM with a far fewer number of things, so that the SIEM actually becomes much more intelligent as well. So if a customer's got a SIEM, great. If the customer doesn't have a SIEM, this is great as well.
So with APIs, we can then potentially feed data into and feed data out of it as well.
Exactly. Everything
Sounds great.
Everything's API based. It's modern software, right?
And it also then would be correlating, the events with external intelligence, I suppose.
That's a great point. So threat intelligence, what is threat intelligence? It's basically, it's a list of IP addresses, it's a list of malware, it's a list of domains, and it's a list of those that are bad, right? So obviously we have amazing threat intelligence in the company. Talos is the name of our organization that does a lot of the research, collects the threat intelligence. We push it to all of our products, right? In Cisco Threat Response, we can leverage that threat intelligence. We can also bring in a lot of third-party threat intelligence. So things like virus total, or
right, virus total. Wow, interesting.
And or you can get feeds, threat feeds that are standard-based threat feeds. You can bring that in as well, and it'll automatically correlate and give you it takes you further down in the investigation because it looks at other sources of data before it says, hey, this is important to work on.
Right, sounds extremely interesting. I think Cisco Threat Response would definitely help a lot of my customers. They are kind of struggling with this information overload, and this idea of getting the right data at the right time, just right at your fingertips, sounds amazing.
The best part about it, it's free.
Wow, free? No way! Are you kidding me?
which isn't common for Cisco, but I mean, we have made this product completely free of charge. So any customer that has Cisco endpoints, Cisco Umbrella, Cisco Network Security can take advantage of this right away. So it's available today. You can download it, you can enable it, you can use it right away.
Amazing, amazing. That really does sound great. And maybe any comment you'd give on, machine learning and security, because, I think, as you mentioned, there's so much data. So is it something that Cisco Threat Response would also use, or maybe the products behind it that are feeding these events?
Yeah. So machine learning is used across the Cisco portfolio, right? So wherever we have a lot of data coming in, like let's say, for example, StealthWatch. StealthWatch is our product that takes in network data and then looks for behavior and then anomalies in that behavior. So StealthWatch uses a lot of machine learning. Within our endpoint is looking at variability in samples or variability in files, and then seeing which of those files are malicious or not, right? Again, uses automated learning to do that. We use learning in our malware sandbox, where there's millions and millions of new files that come out every day. Human beings can't actually go through all of those and determine if it's good or bad. Right? So we use it there as well. We use machine learning in Umbrella. So Umbrella is looking at literally hundreds of billions of DNS requests every day. How do we correlate the ones that are known bad or likely bad in looking at a particular domain? So machine learning is used throughout the portfolio, and it's really a tool. Machine learning doesn't mean that the product is better.
Yeah.
It's really a tool, and it's a tool that you use when you have lots and lots of data to go through.
Sounds great. Well, Bobby, thank you so much for being with us here in Cisco TV Studio. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
It's been great input from you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And now we've got Rob at the World of Solutions. Rob, over to you.
Hey, thank you so much. Yeah, we are here in the security booth talking, that's right, security. And who better, if I introduce my good friend now, we just met each other, but Ben Greenbaum, you were walking everybody through. I had a little bit of trouble getting in here because customers keep coming up and wanting to interrupt us and understand more about what you're doing, and I love how we're fleshing stuff to the surface. I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about what we're doing with threat response these days.
Sure, you showed up just in time. I was just about to start doing an investigation into some information that we have about Drydex. I'm going to look here at the Talos blog, and I'm going to go all the way down to the IOC section. And I'm going to grab all of the indicators of compromise from the bottom of this blog article and just select them. Just select them, right-click on them, and using the Cisco Threat Response plugin for Google Chrome that we just released, I'm going to extract all of the observables out of this piece of information. I'm then going to pivot directly into Cisco Threat Response with these observables loaded as the subject of the investigation that I'm doing. Now you can see right now, it is doing research on those observables. It is finding out what we know about them from all of the different modules that I have configured here in Cisco Threat Response. I've got my Umbrella accounts, I've got Threat Grid, I've got AMP for endpoints, and we can see that from this information, I have local targets. There are machines in my environment that for whatever reason have talked to these IPs that I'm looking for, these files that I'm looking for. I can immediately take some kind of response actions on some of this information as well. This you can see is already known to be malicious by our infrastructure, but if it wasn't, I could easily click here, pivot into AMP for endpoints, and add it to a block list, as simple as that, with just a couple of clicks. And that's really the power and the strength of the Cisco Threat Response platform. It's an integration platform that brings in intelligence and response capabilities from all of your Cisco investments across your entire network. This is the Cisco integrated security architecture at work through the Cisco Threat Response platform.
All right, so I'm just guessing, Ben, that you've been down this path before. You're an extremely good speaker, and I love how you got it. Just to confirm, okay, so obviously you're making a lot of things more visible. You're talking about real-time awareness of things that are happening and then being able to act upon that. Now, you first started that off by grabbing some key indicators from a website. Now, what was the deal with that website? I didn't catch how we were starting that.
That website was the Talos blog, an excellent source of threat intelligence and just information about all kinds of security threats that our advanced Talos research team discovers and analyzes on a regular basis. But the website could have been anything at all. It could have been any source of threat intelligence. It could have been an FS-ISAC release. It could have been a government release. It could have been information that you found in the web-based dashboard of any security products or any other kind of provider of security threat intelligence. You can pivot using the threat response website plugin for Chrome, or web browser plugin for Chrome. You can pivot directly into threat response with information from anything that can be rendered in your browser.
I love that. Ben, that is so awesome, because not only are we coordinating information from multiple sources beyond ourselves, because I think, not to miss the story, that actually Talos is a key source of a lot of that real-time information from around the world. We're going to have to run now, but thank you very much. I appreciate this. Great information, guys. Get a chance to come over to the security booth. If you can catch Ben, even better, but there's a lot of smart people here regardless, but make sure you understand how this stuff works.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Innovation Showcase Theater. My name's Toby and I have the pleasure of being your host today. Now we all know that to thrive in the new world of digital business, companies have to stay on top of innovation like never before. So we're bringing you 11 sessions here from the Innovation Showcase, and we're going to share with you the latest solutions, service innovations, and best practices, which we know will inspire and engage you here at Cisco Live 2019. Now, today we'll be exploring the world of security, and it's my pleasure to introduce you and have up here on stage Jeff Reed. Now, Jeff Reed is Senior Vice President of Product for Cisco Security Business Group, overseeing product management, customer success, and technical marketing. Previously, Reed was SVP of Cisco's Enterprise Infrastructure and Solutions Group, so he comes with expertise in both networking and security. He's a regularly featured speaker here at Cisco Live Europe's Innovation Showcase. Please give a warm welcome to our stage, Jeff Reed.
Thanks, Toby. All right, welcome everybody. So we're going to talk about a subject near and dear to my heart, hopefully near and dear to some of your hearts as well, around the firewall. And what's going on in the world of network security. Why is this interesting and important? Because as you all know, the way that users and things are getting to applications and data is changing. Cloud, IoT, mobility, all these things are kind of fundamentally changing the traffic pattern and where you want to deploy security controls in your environment. And so as that happens, we have these questions like, is the perimeter dead? Where do we put those controls? As you might expect, this is an area that we at Cisco have been paying a lot of attention to. And what I want to do is first kind of walk through the broader vision of this transition. This kind of really being driven in all of your environments. But then I'm going to double click specifically around the network security component and the firewall pieces and kind of what we're doing in that space. I'm going to be joined by 3 different demos, so hopefully you get a lot of actual visibility into the specific technologies that we're building in this area. So let me start first with a diagram that is, a lot of you are network people out there. It's not a real network architecture, but it helps me tell the story in terms of what we're doing. So look, in the good old days, things were pretty simple. Your applications and data were basically within your corporate perimeter. You didn't have that much traffic going out to the internet. At a few places where I was egressing, I'd put my DMZs, I'd put my security controls. Life was simple. Little thing called the cloud comes along. Mobility starts to happen, and all of a sudden things start getting really complicated. And so what we've done at Cisco, we've made 4 kind of big investments in this area, kind of as we start to see this transition happen. The first one started with our acquisition of OpenDNS and our Umbrella technology. I like to call Umbrella like the best pound for pound fighter in security. Like nothing is as easy to deploy or as effective as Umbrella. So that's the really kind of compelling piece. And Umbrella is really about protecting user to service traffic. Like that's where it sits. How do I protect things and users going out to the internet? So that was step one. One other thing to keep in mind, Umbrella brings with it a very like worldwide infrastructure around cloud security, kind of points of presence and infrastructure. And that'll be important as I go along further. So that was step one. And that's about user to service. So the next thing that we're worried about is as applications and data go to the cloud, how do we protect those? Like they're no longer in our data center, the same controls may not be the same things we're using now. And so this is where you get our investment areas in CASB for Cloud Lock. And that's really focused at your SaaS environments. And then in your IaaS and your PaaS world, really how do we protect that service to service traffic? So StealthWatch Cloud is looking for the behavior in your cloud environments, finding anomalies, indicators of compromise. Tetration, which I'm actually really excited about, that's allowing us to understand what the application dependency mapping is, like what services are talking to what normally, and then actually being able to deploy fine-grained segmentation around ensuring that micro-segmentation so that only services that should talk to services can do so. And then clearly, a broad capability set around virtual firewalls. So allowing you to take those technologies, I'll get to this in more detail in a bit, and bring those to the cloud. Step 3, there's this little thing called SD-WAN coming. How many of you are in the process of deploying or thinking about deploying SD-WAN this year? All right, yeah, y'all, lots more. I mean, the stats that we're seeing is like between 40 and 50% of customers are going to make a decision on SD-WAN in 2019. The thing that SD-WAN does that you guys are all familiar with is all of a sudden, we have these branches where we might be enabling direct internet access or direct cloud access. So the nice paradigm where I backhauled all my data, I had very few points headed out to the internet where I deployed my security controls, that changes dramatically in an SD-WAN environment. So the key here is how do we enable you in this world to put controls where your new traffic patterns happen. So this would be the core to kind of what I talk about in the second half of this talk is really what's going on in this space. So that's kind of the third piece. Lastly, but not least in any way, as you think about this cloud transition, and I met with, we had a roundtable for security customers yesterday. Essentially every single customer I talked to wanted to talk about security in the cloud. One of the most effective capabilities you want to start thinking about also is around identity. This is why we bought Duo Security a few months ago, because it turns out that 80% of breaches have compromised credentials. One of the most simple and easy ways to stop that is with multi-factor authentication. Duo Security, we think, built the single best way to do that. So they've created this real great capability around identity. They do not only user identification, making sure I trust that you are who you say you are, but they also do posture assessment of the device. You can create policies around what happens. And so as you start looking at really access control anywhere across your environment, we think identity is going to play an absolutely critical factor, and that's really what Duo brings to Cisco. They also bring capabilities in kind of zero trust, beyond corp, software-defined perimeter, kind of these buzzwords you're hearing in the security market, where you can even get to a point where I can allow access from a user on a mobile device to a SaaS application completely off network. Because if I trust that you are who you say you are, I trust the device that you're getting access to, and I've got CASB or something in the cloud, all of a sudden I can start doing really interesting access patterns. And so again, all these are ways that are where security is changing as we're seeing this transition to the cloud. Make sense? All right, head nods. So let me now double click those specifically in the network security area. As I go here, so anyone know the leading networking vendor in the world? Anyone? Cisco? Leading enterprise security vendor? People might not know that, also Cisco. And I think this is really important, because as we look at network security, we have some great capabilities by bringing what we're doing on the networking side together with what we're doing on the security side. And so you'll see, and this is part of the whole process. You heard it this morning when David we talked about what we're doing, Gordon actually talked about, what we're doing in terms of Viptela and integration of the firewall capability sets. This is really, really important. And that's why I actually spent 7 years, my first 7 years at Cisco I spent on the networking side, coming over to the security side the last couple. So it's really about how do we drive the capabilities we can bring that's kind of unique in this space. So when I think about the future of the firewall, kind of future of network security, there are 3 things that we're absolutely focused on doing. The first one is we want to enable world-class security controls. Now I mentioned this is security. If you think about where we've been in the networking security space, lots of you are familiar with ASA, kind of where we've been. We acquired SourceFire because of the security functionality it brings with it. And the core to this is we're enabling those world-class security controls and then taking those, and the second piece is we're allowing you to deploy them in every place that you need them. So if you go back to kind of this vision, traffic patterns are changing, you might need to put those controls in different places. So the second piece is we're going to take those and enable you to have freedom and flexibility based on the environment that you have, the traffic patterns you have, to put them where you need them. That sounds great, but there's a little concern there is could be really complex. I have all these security controls, are running in new places. So the last pillar of our network security strategy is enabling one place, unified capability around policy. So kind of wherever they run, I have one place to go for defining my security policy, and then one place to go to get my threat visibility. So those are if you kind of tie down all the things we're doing in the future of the firewall, it really boils down to these 3 pillars. So now what I do is I want to walk through these and give you kind of a sense for where we're headed. So starts with world-class security controls. At the heart of that, what we've been doing in the firewall space is taking IPS, IDS technology and integrating that into our classic firewall functionality. That's using Snort IPS. We've been the Magic Quadrant leader for basically as long as there's been a Magic Quadrant for IPS. We continue to be in that, focused on enabling world-class IPS, IDS, merging that into firewall. We also have other security controls that are embedded in our network security capability. Advanced malware protection. The great thing about AMP is it came from IPS, but we've taken that control and we put it in email security, web security, endpoint security. It's going into cloud security. It runs in Meraki MX. And AMP is all about visibility. The more places where you're looking at files, any place you see a file, everywhere AMP is running and every customer benefits from that. So it's this huge, great network effect. The more places AMP is running, the better your security is. We've brought it there, extending it. And the last piece is all this is backed by our Talos Threat Intelligence team. Look, Talos, they're super smart guys and gals, maybe a little unique if you meet them, but the really important thing about Talos is they have an unmatched set of data upon which they can do their analytics. You see the numbers up here. And really, this whole game around threat intelligence is a data game. The more data you have, the better the visibility you're going to get, the better the controls you're going to be able to write. And then more people will deploy it, you'll get more data. So it's this nice virtuous cycle that we've seen in the environment. So Talos is supporting all of our security products, taking that intelligence and driving it in. And you see this in how our customers are deploying. So we've got a great example. I don't know if we have anybody from the Lower Austrian Firefighters Association here, but they deployed our dedicated network security products in Firepower. And you see the outcomes. What they found, the kind of the step up from their previous network security architecture was really around the threat response they got. So finding malware that was already in their environment, blocking 0 days. So these are the capabilities that if you deploy world-class security controls, you can get across your environment. So that's kind of pillar 1. How do we enable that? The second piece, we got to take those controls and we got to make sure they're running where you need them. And this really gets back to this picture. So if you remember, we used to be able to take all our traffic going through the DMZ. That's changing as more and more traffic goes out from your branch environments in SD-WAN. How do we make sure we're protecting you? The way that we're doing it security is taking those world-class security controls and making them run all over the place. So we've got the classic firepower, dedicated security appliances, a great choice for a lot of your environments. You're still going to want those in your DMZ, et cetera. But really the interesting thing here is we've taken those same controls and we're integrating them into the routing infrastructure, Meraki MX or ISR base, as well as into the cloud with our secure internet gateway with Umbrella. So let me talk about those two things quickly. So Umbrella, as I mentioned, started with DNS protection, but we've took that cloud platform and we're integrating all these additional security controls into it. So not just DNS, but full proxy, secure web gateway, cloud-based firewall, integrating CASB technology, et cetera. But instead of me talking more about what we're doing in Umbrella, let's actually show you what we're doing. So Nitin Kumar, can you join me? Nitin's part of our Umbrella team, is going to walk through a demo of some limited availability, sneak peek stuff on the Umbrella side. Hey, Nitin, how are things?
Good, good.
So these are all live demos, which is potentially concerning, but I've got great faith in Nitin here. So how are we doing?
It's good. It's looking all right so far.
All right, perfect.
So I'm glad you sort of queued up the discussion about SD-WAN and branch.
Yep.
So one of the main challenges that customers come to us for is, hey, we're adopting cloud applications. We're sending all of our traffic directly out to the internet.
Yep.
And there's some challenges around that. One of the challenges is scalability. So some customers, it doesn't make sense to always transport their enterprise infrastructure, right?
To all those
Head
branch
locations,
locations,
to all the
yeah.
branch locations.
Exactly.
It can get expensive, and in some cases, it doesn't always make sense to have a lot of hardware at every single branch location.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yep.
And going to our topic, we're talking about Firewall today. So one of the capabilities that we're developing with Umbrella platform is a cloud-delivered firewall.
Fantastic.
So now we're able to actually present some of those capabilities in the cloud, and we'll actually run you through what this looks like today. This is a limited availability feature. You guys are lucky enough that you get a sort of a sneak preview today.
Your innovation showcase, here we're to talk about some innovation.
Exactly. So the first thing that we would do here is the customer has to get the traffic to us.
Yep, step one.
Step one is get the traffic to us, and what we'll support day one is an IPsec tunnel. And to set that up, we would simply, on the Umbrella side, we would give it a tunnel name. We can call this Barcelona.
Pandering to the audience, I like it.
And you can see in the drop-down, we have a few device types that will support from a attack and support perspective.
Yep.
ASA, we'll support Cisco ISR, and then we'll support CSR as well, since they sort of run the same code.
Yep, and you work on Meraki as well.
And we'll have, as we move forward this year, we'll have Meraki MX integration, and we'll do some integrations with Viptela.
Yep.
We saw the SD-WAN story, so that's sort of how we stitch these products together.
Networking plus security?
Exactly.
All right.
And the last thing you see is there's another option here. So that means even if you don't have an edge device that is non-Cisco, we can still create the IPsec tunnel on there and then go ahead and route the traffic to us.
Not that we recommend that, but yeah.
Exactly. So what I would do is simply click Save, and then this would generate a cert, and then part of our IPsec tunnel configuration would just be dropping the cert onto the edge device, whatever you want to use. Yep. So once we have our tunnel set up and once it's talking to our data centers, the next part is what do we actually do with that traffic? So with Cloud Delivered Firewall, what we can do is set up a basic firewall policy. So we have one pre-created, but I'll actually give you guys a preview of what it's actually going to look like. So initially, it's going to be an L3, L4 firewall.
Yep. And
then we'll be introducing layer 7 capabilities later on this year.
Perfect.
So we can basically cover any protocol. So your basic protocols, we can specify based on tunnel.
Yep.
So if you have 20 branch locations, each one has a separate network tunnel.
Create different policies for each tunnel.
Exactly.
Awesome.
We can filter by or block by source IP, source port, destination IP, destination port, sort of the gamut of what
typical ports and protocol, yep.
Exactly. The other function we've added in is sort of a rule expiry. So let's say maybe it's World Cup time and you want to restrict certain IPs to save bandwidth. So we can schedule a rule during that time to say, hey, we want to block these IPs, and you can expire at the end of World Cup, as an example. And the last part is rule action. So what do we actually do with that traffic? So today we can block and allow, and then we can enable logging on this as well.
Perfect.
Yep.
So speaking of logging.
Sure. Yeah, so the other component that's already embedded inside of Umbrella is we can, using an S3 bucket, we can export to any SIM that you guys would have. So
Yeah.
QRadar, Splunk, and we'll be incorporating the same capabilities into our firewall logs as well. So if you're familiar with the Umbrella logging solution today, then it's going to be
Off and running.
the same functionality.
Very cool.
Yep. So I'll show you what the actual reporting looks like from a firewall perspective. So we go to activity search, and then we'll just drop down the last 30 days here. So we've already created a tunnel.
Yep.
We just called it NYC branch, so let me just pull that up.
It's your demo environment.
It's our demo environment that we set up a tunnel on. So we can automatically filter by just the tunnels, and we can do this across multiple tunnels. The other component that we've added on is being able to filter specifically by firewall logs. So we can actually do that. And so this way we see all of the traffic that's coming through our cloud-delivered firewall. Obviously,
It's all your firewall events. Yeah.
all the firewall events for any location that you set up with Umbrella.
Very cool.
The other thing we can do is just drill down. So if we wanted to know more information about a specific request, we can just click on this little guy here. And now we get full details. We can filter by the IP, the destination IP, source IP, the port, the protocol.
Very
So
cool.
really, if you really want to dig into that specific request, you have all the options available to you.
Nice. So we talked about SIG being, cloud firewall was one of the capability sets. There's other things you guys are working on. Can you share anything else you think is of interest to these folks more broadly on SIG? Yeah.
Yeah. So we're also, looking at we're also introducing CASB capabilities, and then as Jeff mentioned, proxy capabilities as well, sort of getting embedded into the product.
Nice.
Yep.
You want to show the CASB off?
Yeah, absolutely. So the use case around branch is we talked about scalability. It's also visibility as well. So if I'm adopting all these different cloud applications, how do I get visibility into the usage, right? How do I know what cloud applications my users are using? And that's what our app discovery dashboard actually shows is over a period of time, what applications are being adopted.
Very cool.
So we can drill down and we can see, hey, if I want to know about a specific high-risk category of applications, I can actually drill down. And now that I see that there's some collaboration apps and there's some cloud storage apps that are actually high risk. So we can actually drill down into that and give you more details. And now I have one app that was discovered under cloud storage that's high risk.
Yeah.
And we calculate risk based on a number of different things.
All the capabilities you have in Cloud Lock.
Exactly. So
today.
Does it support two-factor authentication?
Yep.
Does it have weak password support? So all of these factors, including compliance, make up how we actually calculate the risk.
Very cool.
And within the same dashboard, we can say, look, we don't want to sanction this app. We actually want to block it immediately so our users can't access it. It's a high-risk app. So what we do is from the app discovery dashboard, we click on the block this app, and now we go through a workflow of applying it to an existing policy.
Nice.
At the same time, we can actually mark it as not approved.
And just go from
And
there.
we do this workflow for every app that we want to essentially block. On the other side of it, there's a setting called application settings where we can do this in bulk as well to make it easy.
Very cool. So this is available today, actually, in Umbrella already,
Exactly.
right?
So app discovery is available today
All
in our
Umbrella
insights
users.
and platform package.
Yeah.
If you're on the professional package, it's just an add-on, and you guys can start using it today.
Awesome. So hopefully you get a sense for how powerful we're building out from our cloud security platform Umbrella. Nitin, thank you so much.
problem.
Everybody, big hand for Nitin. Very cool stuff. Thanks, man. All right. So that was one example in terms of where we're putting new security controls. Hopefully you got a feel for what we're doing on the cloud side. The other big one is on what we're doing in terms of the routing platforms. We've already had integration in Meraki MX. It's running AMP, capability set, et cetera. The big announcement in the last few months has been the integration with ISR. So basically taking enterprise firewall, snored IPS, URL filtering driven by Talos, all that capability set running in the ISR, managed by vManage, so the same application, same management console you're used to from a SD-WAN perspective. And so the idea here is give you choices. Depending on your environment, as you're making this transition, you have the opportunity to use a dedicated firewall, firepower appliance. You can use the cloud as a place where you're going to be able to do those security components. You could do it in the device itself, or you can mix and match, kind of depending on what controls you want to run where you want them. So this is kind of the really thing that, if you're going by Cisco and what we're driving in network security, this is really a strategy that we're embarking upon. So that was the second pillar. So last pillar, as you said, lots of places we can put controls, world-class controls, but how do we make it easy for you to manage those controls? So we're really focused in 2 areas. One is how do we unify policy? And the second is how do we unify threat visibility? So let's start on the policy side. So this idea is really driven by a product we call Cisco Defense Orchestrator. Started as kind of like ASA, firewall rule management, but as you'll see shortly, we're extending that broadly across the portfolio. And so what CDO does is it really all about this idea of enabling you to look at, again, those common elements, those world-class security controls, and set up policy for those wherever they're running within your environment. And so to talk more about CDO and show us what we're doing there, I'd like to introduce Joel Furman, who leads our firewall product management team. Hey, Joel.
Thanks for having me.
All right, glad to have you there. Woo! So you're going to be showing us CDO, correct?
Absolutely.
All right, you're off and running.
All right, so with CDO, we have the capability to effectively do centralized management. That's not just within Cisco products, and that's something that we're going to share today. So how many folks in the audience use AWS at all in your environments?
How many AWS folks do we have?
AWS?
Oh, that's it? Only a quarter? All right.
All right.
I'm guessing it's higher, but we'll see. All right, keep going.
So what this allows you to do is effectively, today, as it exists, it allows you to manage policies in ASA, as Jeff said earlier. And what we're launching in March is the ability to manage FTD appliances as well. So you can see here in this demo pod I've got ASA and FTD devices. Now what's really neat is we're adding quite a bit more functionality to this. And if I were to, for example, click on VPN, I can see all the VPN tunnels going on in my environment. I can look at a global view of that and get kind of a WYSIWYG editor where I can move things around and see where traffic is going, et cetera. I've got a Frankfurt ASA set up, I've got a Barcelona ASA set up, and I've got some tunnels. Now one of these tunnels is kind of a mystery tunnel, right? It's going out to this IP address. We're not exactly sure what it is, and that's very common. You'll see oftentimes that occurring. And so a lot of times you have shadow IT, and you don't really know, if people in your environment are spinning up AWS instances, Azure instances, et cetera. And what we're actually enabling customers to do is actually get that new visibility into CDO and create common policy across multiple environments. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to onboard AWS onto this environment right now. So if I go over here in my security groups in my AWS account, you'll see I've got this set up here, and I can see inbound rules, I've got nothing, outbound rules, I've got nothing. And if you've ever set up policies in Amazon, you'll know it's a little bit cumbersome. So if I want to set up an outbound rule, I have to click edit rules and add each one individually. If I've got hundreds or thousands of different accounts and gateways and such, it can be very cumbersome.
Very cumbersome.
Very cumbersome. So what I'm actually going to do here is I'm going to exit out of this and go back to the security groups. And then I'm going to go into Cisco Defense Orchestrator. I'm going to go into my devices and services, and I'm going to hit this little plus button to onboard. Now you see we have a bunch of different choices up here, FTDs, discovering FTDs, et cetera. Now, one thing you didn't see is Umbrella.
Umbrella, yep.
Yeah, you didn't see that. And then we've got connect to AWS VPCs. So if you click on that, I'm actually going to onboard that VPC we were looking at, and you'll see how fast this is. Again, this is completely live. I'm going to choose my US East.
You're kind of creating the profile in CDO.
Correct. I don't need to rename it, and I'm just going to continue. I don't need to add any custom labels. And right now, I actually have my AWS VPC environment synced seamlessly with CDO. So what this allows me to do now is if I go here into VPN and I click on this little globe over here, now instead of this being a mystery address, I can actually see this VPN tunnel.
AWS,
bingo, terminating into my New York VPC. Now clearly, if I've got a VPN tunnel going into my private cloud, or I'm sorry, my public cloud, I'm going to want to control what assets are on that, right? And I don't want the wild, wild west occurring or data going out of that VPC. So I look in this VPC, and again, you can look over here and see there's no outbound rules on here. And I decide, you know what, I want to deploy my golden template that I'm using with ASAs, FTDs, and other devices on-prem. I want to deploy my gold template in the cloud.
So you've got a standard outbound policy set.
Absolutely. So I can show you, we go into network policies, we scroll down to the bottom, and here, it's just a very basic outside ACL policy.
Yep.
So if I come back here to this main window here, I can take my gold template and just copy it and select device, my New York AWS VPC, select the default interface, choose direction out, because again, I'm worried about what's going to leave that VPC environment, hit save, and as I hit save, the policies are immediately populated in AWS. So now,
basically, CDO is translating that policy into the AWS environment for you.
Exactly.
On the native AWS firewall.
Exactly. So now when I come back and look at outbound rules, all I have to do is hit refresh, and now I have all those outbound rules seamlessly in AWS. Now this is incredibly helpful because a lot of times customers will sync up not with CDO or with any other tool. They'll sync up a tool to Amazon. They'll go, oh my God, I had no idea how many resources from my prem were actually reaching out to the cloud until I started syncing up AWS accounts to it.
But the key here is also being able to take this common set of policies and deploy them, ASA, Firepower, Umbrella's coming, Meraki's coming, Vitello, so all those places, you have one place to do the management policies.
Absolutely, and it does quite a bit more than that. So if we jump back into CDO, and I have another environment here, if I look at some of these devices and services, you'll see ASA and FTD devices. A lot of folks have in this room, I'm sure, have played around with upgrading ASA and FTD devices, and it can be a little challenging. Sometimes it's not quite seamless. We're actually going to show you how within just a couple of minutes, you can actually do a very quick upgrade. So I can go in here, and actually before I do that, I want to show you one quick thing.
Don't take too long.
I won't. If I click on configuration, a neat trick we do here is I can actually access the command line interfaces, and I can save favorite scripts that I've got. So if I want to create a VPN, and it's something that I do frequently, all I do is click this one button, and I can just enter in the specific elements of interest that I've predefined in the template.
Policies, yeah.
Exactly. So most firewall admins do the same 15 or 20 things over and over and over. This really speeds it up, and of course this will do it for FTD as well. But if I go back real quickly to the upgrade process, I can select a couple of ASA devices, for example, click upgrade. I can select an image, and this image is residing in the cloud on our server.
These are our latest and greatest images. They're populated already. Yep.
Correct. And you'll see one of them is actually red. So that's saying, hey, I'm already on the latest version. So it'll actually do a version check. It'll make sure it's got enough CPU and storage space, et cetera. So I hit continue. I'm going to use a image from my repository to upgrade the ASDM as well simultaneously. You can choose to copy the images only and then do an upgrade later. You can copy the images and install and reboot automatically, or you can actually schedule an upgrade for a later date and time at a particular window that you so desire. I'm actually going to push this immediately, and you can now see the status of this. So if you've done an upgrade in the past with one of our appliances, whether it's FMC or with ASA, once you hit upgrade, it just kind of cross your fingers and hopefully everything works out. What's really great about this is I can actually go in and device by device see that there's an upgrade in progress. I can click on this, I can review the upgrade, I can see what it's doing. So in here, it's checking the connectivity state, it's copying the images, et cetera.
You can roll back if you need to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So this is a good example of how we're, again, trying to use the power of the cloud, CDO as a cloud-based product, to really fundamentally improve that whole policy experience, give you a single place across the breadth of where you're doing network security to have control.
Great.
Awesome. Joel,
thanks.
This is fantastic. Everybody, big hands for Joel Furman. All right, so that gives you a sense on the policy side. The other big thing that we want to make it easy for you is on the threat side. So again, you have all these security products. They have visibility to different threats. How do we make sure that you've got a single place where you can get visibility on them as well? That's what we've done in Cisco Threat Response. So Cisco Threat Response isn't only about network security. It actually supports our AMP for endpoints. It's in beta for email. So think of this as a single place where you can look for known, IOCs, see where they've been in your environment, understand what they might be related to, and really kind of get a single place across the breadth of where you're deploying security controls, get understanding of the threat visibility they have. So to talk about this, I'd like to introduce Nassif Erdos. Nassif, he's a teamie on our Cisco Threat Response team. Nassif, welcome to have you.
Thank you.
So you're going to give us a little demo on CTR. We're at Cisco. We create acronyms for everything. Before you were actually, though, you were a practitioner on the security side, right?
Yeah, and the hardest part was how long it took
Yep.
to get questions back to something as simple, are we affected by something?
Yep.
We had to go to multiple systems, endpoint, network, just all over the SOC to figure out, are we affected? So I want to show you what we do these days.
Yep, perfect.
Sneal walks into the office and he asks, are we affected by RASI?
Yep.
When these things are published, consider this to be a security intelligence bulletin. We've got our Talos team.
This is our Talos blog. Yep.
That publishes the indicators of compromise. What we've done with Cisco Threat Response is being able to just grab this information as it is, and through our extensions, can we search this? Right now, I'm going to go through 10 observables, and immediately, you're going to know out of that thing that you selected,
Yep.
5 are malicious and 5 are unknown.
Wow.
We've just pulled on our threat intelligence.
Right there.
Umbrella
yeah.
Investigate, Talos Intelligence, AMP Global Intel, as well as Virus.
So basically enriching all of the things in those observables with what we already know across Cisco.
Within a few seconds.
With seconds, all right?
Now I've got to answer the next question.
Like,
am I impacted?
are we infected? Yeah.
What we do here is click Investigate. Again, I just did one click. And when I did that, I went across my portfolio and asked, am I affected? Immediately I know I am affected because I've lit up 3 targets.
Okay, so 3, the purple guys.
The purple guys.
Yeah.
What the purple guys are telling me that I've got 1 endpoint that has reached out to something.
Okay.
And I've got 2 network identities that have reached out to something. Network comes from Umbrella.
Okay, yeah.
Endpoint comes from AMP for endpoints.
Yep.
And I may want to start acting on these things now. So I see this particular domain. At this point, I see that I've got some endpoints reaching out to this domain. I want to block it to give me immediate protection while I perform the investigation. With the linkages into Umbrella, the enforcement API specifically, I get to block this domain.
So right-click, block, single place, 1 tool.
Done. Now, of interest in the Security Operations Center are those things that are unknown, Jeff. And the unknown
This is what your old job used to be mainly about, right?
Spend a lot of time figuring out the unknowns. Green is green, red is malicious, orange
what's
or
gray?
gray,
Yeah.
that's where we spend a lot of time. So right now, we've known that we've got a file here that is unknown to us.
Yep.
We could decide to block it now, Jeff, or we could add it to our investigation.
Okay.
Which one would you like to do?
Find out some more. Let's do door number 2.
Okay. We'll add it to the investigation. And when we add this element that we had no idea about 2 minutes ago to our investigation, we open the aperture to the scope. So look what happened, Jeff. Simply by adding that hash, I'm able to tell you that that hash traversed a network gateway.
Yep.
It came in across our email security appliance. And guess what? 2 email addresses were targeted.
Okay.
So I know this was probably a directed fish.
Yeah.
The file got in, one of my users clicked it.
Yep. Yeah.
At
They
this
clicked
stage-
it, the network security device saw it. Here you go.
At this stage, I can
So
decide to
I think
block
we should
it.
maybe block it. Yeah.
Okay. So if we feel we need to block it, again, we add this to our simple custom detection list. This
Right
is
click.
block.
You block an AMP. If AMP's running the firewall, if it's running
Block an
email,
AMP, block across everything
everywhere.
that is tied into that AMP cloud.
That is killer.
So you've got that protection at speed.
Yep.
But your talk was about firewalls. I
Yep.
want to show you what to do with firewalls.
All right.
This is a security intelligence event from the Firepower Management Center.
FNC.
The security intelligence event, that IP, we've got a beaconing host on the network
Okay. Not a good
that
thing.
is beaconing out to an IP address that we know we are blocking.
Okay.
As security operations, we want to answer the next question.
Who?
What and who exactly
Yeah, are doing
is
that.
doing that? Through the integration with the 6.3 code, we are able to just come in here and go to threat response. Watch what we're going to do in seconds. We're starting with an IP, and in a few seconds, you're going to derive a target, and more specifically, again, you find out that there's a brand new file
On that
unknown,
target.
because attackers can change a hash in a file very quickly.
Second.
Again, We can go down door 1 or door 2 at this time. Any way you do. The point here was you can block it now at speed.
So that's pivoting directly from our network security products into threat response to do a block using whatever the right control is at that point in time.
At the end of the day, we can protect the environment by getting to the root cause.
That's awesome. And hey, Nassef, this is super exciting stuff. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
So hopefully you get a sense like how powerful this can be of having something that works across the breadth of security controls in your environment. We launched this at RSA last year. We've kind of just virally seen it get to over 3,000 customers already today. Started with AMP for endpoint, then Umbrella support, email, and network and firewall are in beta right now. And we're extending that across, again, the breadth of places. So all the places you have security controls, be able to feed that visibility into threat response. And that's a good segue to the close here, which is, look, when you're thinking about network security, yes, we've been all focused around what we're doing around network security, but you want to think about network security as part of your broader security architecture and environment. And that's where really the power of Cisco comes. We have an unmatched set of capabilities in the space. I talked a lot about the networking side, but we're investing in cloud, we're investing in endpoint. You know, we've spent roughly $6.5 billion on network security, and security acquisitions in the last 5 years. We've more than doubled our R&D in security specifically. Like, we are absolutely focused on being the best and your most trusted security vendor in the marketplace. So hopefully this was helpful. You kind of understand like where we're going around network security. Again, 3 simple things. World-class security controls in every place you need them, with a single place for you to do policy and a single place for you to understand threat visibility. So with that, thank you so much. You can see all this stuff over in our Security World of Solutions demo area to get more visibility. And I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of Cisco Live. Thanks, everybody.
Anytime there's an opportunity and I see what's possible and what Cisco can do, whether it's helping our customers or it's helping in a time of crisis, that inspires me, and I get motivated every day because of the opportunity we have to do all those things.
There's a bridge between every barrier and breakthrough, every challenge and every solution. Where classrooms have no boundaries, where actually making a living is also making a difference, and that a thriving business is connected to a thriving community.
Domino's customers have one thing in common when placing an order. They're hungry. They want their pizza, and they want it ASAP, if not sooner. So Domino's began looking for ways to simplify the ordering process. That's when they called Cisco. From the data center to the store, Cisco built a secure, scalable infrastructure that helped streamline ordering. In other words, it got hot food to hungry customers faster, no matter what platform they ordered from, while giving Domino's an edge over their competitors. Delicious. Between craving a better experience and delivering it, there's a bridge. Cisco, the bridge to possible.
So I've got Joseph Bradley here with me in the studio. Joseph, thank you for being here.
And thank you very much. Great place to be in Barcelona.
Yes, it's a fabulous city, isn't it?
I'm loving it every day.
Great. So Joseph is the Global Vice President, Customer Experience of Incubation Services and Technology. Well, that sounds pretty fancy. Could you tell us more about what do you do?
So basically, you know, Liz and Tony had a great presentation on IoT.
Yeah.
And she really runs the product side of the business. I represent IoT on the customer experience side, so really the services side of IoT.
Nice.
Yeah.
Joseph, how would you, explain maybe artificial intelligence in the future, right? So like if we talk about the future of IT, I think artificial intelligence is like this big buzzword. Everybody's like, yeah, we're doing it, but no one really knows like what they're doing, right?
Yeah.
So what kind of a role would that play in IoT?
Yeah, well, so artificial intelligence is going to play a huge role. It's going to really help us in terms of automating the network and automating a lot of functions. So we just did a global IT readiness survey, and we interviewed about 1,500 respondents, 7 different countries. One of the things that came out loud and clear, 42% said that AI will be the most disruptive technology they can see in the next 12 months. So there's a lot of investment happening there. And when you look at where they've currently invested in AI or where they plan to invest in AI over the next 12 months, 89% said they're going there. So you see a lot of talk around AI, mainly around automation from an IT management perspective.
Nice. Well, you know, Joseph, so I've been to the World Summit AI. I'm not sure if you've heard of it. It's in Amsterdam. It was in October. It was an amazing event. I really loved it. What I found interesting was this discussion on the biases, right? So how, obviously, when you analyze so much data and you teach the algorithms to, you know, kind of analyze it and learn it by themselves, like this data obviously creates biases. So is it something that, you know, you would be cautious of as well? Like, what's your take on that?
Yeah, so, you know, the reality is we as humans, we have biases. So it's really, really important that we recognize that. So when you think about AI, it's so important to make sure that you're asking the critical questions, right? What happens when AI goes wrong? When has it made a bad decision? You got to make sure you take away the black box and we understand what's behind it. The second thing that we got to do, we talk a lot about this at Cisco, is you got to have inclusion and diversity, meaning the people that are building the AI, the coders, the technologists, you want to make sure that they're a diverse representation of people, because if not, you will embed bias in the coding. And it's so hard to get bias out when we're talking as humans. Can you imagine how hard it's going to be once it's encoded in the system? But all in all, I think if you focus on inclusion and diversity, ensuring that those that are coding AI are diverse, and then we always remember to ask the critical questions. What is it being used for, and when has it made a bad decision, so that we understand it can remove the black box, we'll be fine.
Right, yes. Well, you sound really positive about it. That's great. I love that. So, well, could you give me like an example of one of the customers of yours that's been transforming their business with AI and IoT and how Cisco actually helped them, right? Because I think it sounds all fancy and great, but you know, how does it actually apply in the real use cases in the real business?
Yeah, so really what it really applies to is in really two areas. First thing is you think about condition monitoring. So every customer basically, when it talks about IoT, they want to know 3 things. Tell me where my asset is, tell me how is it doing today, and how will it be operating in the future. AI at the edge is so important in doing that because it allows us to take all this information, like we did with departments of transportations around the world, and be able to say, hey, given the current weather conditions, these are the actions you need to take to make the roads safer. These are the actions you need to take to protect people out who are working on those roads. So AI really helps in understanding, again, the current condition of an asset. The second thing that AI helps us is in really being able to understand what's happening in the network, being able to troubleshoot and figure out where there's a problem. From the IT management side, that is huge, because you know we have a huge shortage of talent in the world today, and the only way we're going to be able to meet the demand is to be able to rely on AI to drive productivity and efficiency.
Right. And what's your take on security in IoT and AI, right? Because I've got a lot of my customers are, for example, industrial customers as well, container terminals, and you know, security is a hot topic, right? As much as they want to go the IoT route, they are very cautious as well.
Yes. So security and IoT, critically important, hands down. But I think we got to expand our definition. So why do you secure things in IoT? Why do you secure data? Because you believe data is valuable. Why is data valuable? Well, because you assume that it is correct. That is a critical assumption. In IoT, when we say security, we're first talking about data integrity. If you're driving an autonomous vehicle, it can be secure, but you want to make sure that that data is right. If it says that sign is 10 feet, you don't want that sign to be 9 feet. You want it to be 10 feet. So when we talk about security, we're talking about ensuring that the data is correct and also ensuring that it is also protected from malware and other criminal activities.
Sounds great. Sounds great. And I think AI will also go the security way, so right?
Absolutely.
That will also,
AI will
you know,
be huge in helping us deter potential security attacks. And also, AI is very helpful in us making sure that we understand that the data as it flows from point to point has not been changed, that it is still remains the correct and has a high degree of integrity. So we're very excited about all the implications and really the value that AI can bring to us in the future.
Sounds great.
Thank you.
And maybe back a bit to the AI topic, because I really find it extremely interesting. I remember Cassie Kozyrkov, so she's like a chief data scientist at Google, right? At World Summit AI, when she was giving her speech. I found it extremely interesting what she said. She said most of AI projects fail, not because of the algorithms, because of the data, or you know, other technical aspects. It's more of understanding, are we solving the right problem?
Correct.
Because a lot of companies spend so much money on solving the wrong problem, right?
Correct.
So what would you comment on that, right? How do you tackle that with your customers?
Yeah, so I mean, I wrote a book called Questioneering, right?
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, I just wrote a book called Questioneering, which basically says, in the world today, in the world was filled with all these answers, value is found in not changing your answers, but in fundamentally changing your questions. If you just think about it, the question that you ask sets you up for the target you want to achieve. If you're trying to hit a target to the right, but you're aiming over to the left, you're never going to hit it. And the world is full of those examples. You can think of Marvel Comics. Spent years trying to do what? How do we sell more comic books? Then they changed this question slightly and said, well, how do we drive greater entertainment value of our assets? One way, they were going bankrupt. The next way, they're bought by Disney, $5 billion. Why? Because they created movies. They took their content and created movies. What changed? People didn't change. What changed? The basic question that they were asking.
I love that. So can I get your book at the Cisco store? Because the Cisco store is right here.
Cisco store, Amazon, either way, Questioneering.
Great, sounds good. I'm gonna look it up. Well, I think what you're saying essentially is that it's also Cisco's responsibility as we speak to our customers, right? Because I work in sales. So as we speak to our customers, it's important to ask the right questions.
Very important.
Right?
Very important.
So in anything we do, whether it's AI related or any other technology, it's really what do we want to essentially achieve. Not just trying to solve a problem because it's there, but like actually questioning why do we have this problem? Why did we even end up there? What's the root cause, right?
Absolutely. You know, it's not what you don't know that caused you to fail, but what you believe to be true. And that's why it's so important to make sure you're fundamentally challenging your core beliefs and asking high-value questions.
Yes, sounds great. Sounds great. So what do you like so far at Cisco Live?
Man. I really like the people interaction. The energy, the people are great, so much excitement. Gotta love DevNet, gotta love the technology, but at the end of the day, it's all about people.
Nice, nice. Yeah. And did you enjoy the keynote yesterday?
Oh, absolutely, it was great.
Yeah, I think it's really great. I really love how, you know, the customers are so excited, right? So it's really like seeing that excitement in customers' eyes, like, wow, this new technology is great. I've done this lab, it's really nice.
Yeah, you can see it, we're really making that transition from proof of concepts to value and realization and reality, right? You can see it, you can feel it in the air. It's a great place to be, great time to be at Cisco.
Yes, indeed. And I also saw like that we had quite a number of partners that are also doing a lot of the IoT things and you know, using our DevNet for even AI development, machine learning, right? So we have like software development kits on DevNet.
Absolutely.
For machine learning. Could you like explain, you know, what are the most exciting things our partners do now in IoT?
With IoT, as we figured out, we learned, you know, IoT is not about a set of tools, it's about a life cycle. And so when you think about from adopt to renew, our partners are playing in all types, in all areas of that life cycle. So from everything from helping us connect devices, to building connectors, to helping us extract the data, to helping us move the data, direct it to where we want it to be, is it on-prem, is it cloud-based, to helping us drive algorithms to help edge analytics and cloud analytics. So our partners are really playing in all aspects of the full life cycle of IoT.
Right. And could you like maybe name a few customers or like say a nice use case that you worked on recently that made you extremely enthusiastic?
Oh yeah, several. So I don't know if no, unfortunately most of our customers won't allow us to use their names
yet.
Yes, of
course, yes.
But
I know that.
I can tell you right now, we had some incredible projects with a very large utility where we've been really looking at how do we embed millions of devices in their FAN network. How do we connect those devices? How do we deploy true edge analytics? I've already mentioned about Department of Transportation, how exciting that is. I can tell you there's a very, very large government contractor where we're looking at how are we able to determine and monitor the assets. They have well over 100,000 of these machines. They want to know where they are. They want to know how they're currently operating and how they operate in the future. We're so excited about that. We got a very large German company we're working with right now to deploy IoT and predictive analytics to help them move from being a product company selling the actual machines to how can they sell insights. So that's just like 4 or 5.
And having a German customer is not easy, I can tell you that, right? In terms of data, because I work in security, there's always a lot of questions about data and security.
It just shows you again the power of what happens when you bring one Cisco between our engineering teams, our service teams, CMS, all coming together to drive value in IT. It's great.
Great, sounds fantastic.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. I think you really paint a great picture, and I think it really shows how Cisco is so well positioned to deliver on IoT vision and strategy that we have, because we have the data center, right?
Yes.
We are decentralizing it, so it's really like data center anywhere, your data anywhere.
Yes.
And that contributes a lot to IoT, right?
Yes.
And then, of course, the intent-based networking. So we've got the intent-based networking, intent-based data center, and we've got this layer of security that spans the full infrastructure. So I think Cisco is really well positioned in the IoT space at this point.
Absolutely.
Would you agree?
Oh, completely agree. I mean, completely agree. You know, the work that we've done in our IT readiness index, you know, it showed that 93% of everyone that we talked about, that we interviewed, said, hey, they want to move within the next 2 years beyond reactive towards preemptive. So you know AI, automation, IoT is top of mind.
Sounds great.
All right.
Well, thank you so much for being here. It was really a pleasure, and I think it was really great minutes to hear you speak about all the latest innovation. Sounds great.
Love to be here.
Thank you very much.
See you later.
All right, thanks.
Bye-bye.
You're gonna have to call me back.
Did you guys book this room? Because I'm pretty sure I booked this room.
Between what is hoped for and what can be, there's a bridge. Between the aspirations of a ball club and the greatest sports venue in America, there's a bridge. Between chaos and wonder, endangered and protected, there's a bridge.